Hey, John.
What?
John, I'm here.
Are you?
John, does it sound like I'm far away?
No, it depends on which mic input. You're yelling, so not really.
Skip, how's John's shot? Is he blown out?
I don't see myself. No, I shouldn't though.
John, I would say one of the 2 rules people give folks for being on television is not to wear a white shirt.
I know what you're gonna say. Okay, well then
that is one of only 2 rules they give people. The other one is do not wear tight patterns.
Day.
I'm sorry.
Why can't I ever wear not black?
Listen, if you want to look like a kid waiting for Christmas morning, fine, wear what you were wearing.
I'm not
like if you're
entirely sure
shooting
why that
this
is the note,
episode from the,
like it
because you're wearing it looks like like I'm from LA where no one has that shirt. The Henley thermal I
had it imported from the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, exactly. So like when people like tell me like here's how to stay warm, I'm like slow down, please tell me what it's like to be cold first.
Okay,
then I'll be able.
You ruined
I need to know the enemy.
They were gonna get a once in a lifetime opportunity and they lost it.
John, this Wheel of Time show, are we doing a separate block on it or not?
Well, it depends on if we run one of 2 things. We could either run out of news because we go through fast, which will never happen, or 2, we'll just jettison the rundown because it's kind of a nothing news day.
Oh, cool. Way to. Okay, I won't let the audience know about that either.
Well, we're not going to say it on the show, obviously.
I will say my final block has one of the funniest viral videos of all time in it.
Oh, I want to see.
It's kind of shoehorned in there, but it's worth it because I was hit by a taxi.
Interesting. I know what you're talking about. Okay. By the way, I did consider making you my garbage person because of your texts about Wheel of Time. I really should have done that.
Dude, did you see my reply up your text messages? to your
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you were vicious. So I assume you, for multiple reasons, haven't watched the new episode then.
I will watch it. It's not like I won't watch it. Like I know what happens with shows like this. You watch it later and you're like, oh, that's why it was boring. Because otherwise it was never gonna have a chance for me to know this thing about the wizard world. I get it. The wizarding world of Wheel of Time.
Well, I enjoy it.
No, I have no doubt that you enjoy it.
It's not perfect, right? And by the way, it is.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones eventually diverged from the books in some ways. There's almost no scenes that are fairly directly from the book, which I kind of like because that way I'm like my wife is asking me questions and I'm thinking I have no idea. I've read these books multiple times. I honestly don't know.
She likes the spoil. She doesn't mind the spoilers if I'm remembering correctly.
Craves spoilers. She wants to ruin. She has tricks to get spoilers and she thinks that I don't know what she's doing. Let's just see how many episodes there are as she peruses the thumbnails for information. Welcome back, everyone, to one of my favorite days, Fridays, because tomorrow's the weekend and it's so great. Also, because we're gonna throw out some trash. And thirdly, because we got Brett Erlich. Brett, how's it going?
You know what, John? Today took a minute for me to get going, but I'm here. I'm excited. I see your beautiful shining face. Before Spicy Mike, we had not that exists. I did improv a song about your beautiful back, which I don't think I've ever seen, but still. And you made me promise not to sing it during the show. And so I respect your wishes, but people need to know that it exists.
I wasn't broad enough in the prohibition for you referencing it during the actual show, I suppose. So you got me there.
John knew when I promised not to sing that song that I was going to wait for Spicy Mike and then start doing basically something about like your upper neck or something.
Don't do either of those things. By the way, we had a last minute wardrobe change before the show because I was informed by Brett, who is far more experienced in this field. He's done work with Marvel and everything, and commercials, that I should not wear a fully white shirt. which I get, but I'm now hot because I threw on this jacket and it was a perfect temperature for this white shirt. So at some point during a break, I might just change it up. You know,
it's fine. I just told John that like there are literally two things they tell you about being on camera. One is don't wear tight patterns because it gets that like it's called moraying. It looks insane and starts strobing. And the other is do not wear a white shirt. And there's John who's got muscles and they increase the amount of screen. I don't know if you heard the song about his lower back, but it invoked his musculature.
Glad that they didn't. Okay, someone said jacket off, John. No, that's Jim Jordan is the one who takes his jacket off. I don't do that, but I might because it is getting really hot in here, and I want to be comfy, you know, on a Friday, and like, you know, it was Brooke. She says someone
John
offended. Okay, well, anyway, look, if you have just logged on, then if this is the first podcast of ours you listen to, you've just had the experience that has caused me to unsubscribe from 50 podcasts because you have no idea what we do. Oddly enough, what we do is political commentary and analysis, and we will actually be doing that through the course of the next 88 minutes or so.
But first, John's shirt.
No, first songs. Second of all, a shirt. No, we will be doing that. We're gonna be talking about little updates on the war against your reproductive rights taking place not only in the SCOTUS, but also in states around the country. So that's fun. And also a bunch of updates on stories that we've been tracking throughout the week, including Lauren Boebert. What, if anything, will actually happen to her? Donald Trump, a little bit more about his COVID sociopathy. So that's gonna be fun. Facebook has been making some money off of really immoral stuff. We're gonna have a debate about that. We're gonna have a couple debates, I think, actually, on the show today. We got some Joel Osteen. We have a wild card for you. We're doing Meanwhile In today. When have we ever done that on a Friday? But we are going to. We're gonna be talking about news from around the world.
I wanna see how many countries I made the intro for 4 years ago.
4 years ago, we're still using. Depends, if they have animals in it, you probably did it. And then we will, at the end, be throwing away our garbage people of the day. There is still time if you would like to go to the community tab on our YouTube channel and vote. We're always looking to break our record on number of votes, so we'll see what happens there. But with that, also, if you hit the like button, that'd be great. We still do that, right? Brett, with all that said, are you ready to talk about some news?
Desperately ready, John.
Let's do it. It is getting so hot in here.
Just take it off, dude. Take it off before this video. Do it.
Or turn up. But sometimes I come into the studio and they have the AC set to 65 degrees. Is that not insane? That is way too low to be setting an AC. Anyway.
I mean, it's full. I'll tell you, let me answer another question you should probably know after this much time in broadcasts. Lights make things hot. So even if it's 65, it'll never get down there. They set it that way so that when you turn on the lights and it starts heating the place, your face doesn't burn off.
Okay, well, something you don't know is that I broadcast in here every day. So I set it to 69 and it's delightful.
Nice.
And nice. Anyway, with that, let's talk about some news, everyone. It's easy to focus on the fact that the SCOTUS is right now in the process of probably annihilating Roe v. Wade. And I understand why you would focus on that. It's horrendous. But also, if you could fit in a little bit of attention to the fact that there are other assaults going on right now to women's reproductive rights, that would be great. Let's take a look at what Texas is doing. Right now the Supreme Court is considering that Mississippi law. Maybe eventually they'll also talk about the absolutely horrendous bounty hunting Texas anti-abortion law. But in addition, maybe they'll start talking about this. A new law has just gone into effect, limiting the use of abortion-inducing medication in Texas. That happened just yesterday. So this new law restricts abortion medication by prohibiting doctors from prescribing the abortion pill after 7 weeks of pregnancy, which is 3 weeks less than the US Food and Drug Administration's limit of 10 weeks. Why? Is this a result of like their in-depth analysis of the effects of the medication based on really cutting into how it affects women in each week? And so we think for scientific reasons, we have to take it from 10 to 7. No, 7 is less than 10. They've done that math. They can't do any better math, but they've done that math. And so they're doing it. And so in addition to the time change, The law also makes it a felony for physicians to send abortion pills to a patient by courier, delivery, or mail, specifically requiring physicians to do an in-person examination before providing medication abortion in person, punishable by up to 2 years in jail and a fine of $10,000 because they've just decided that $10,000 is the correct fine for literally everything that they do. And it would apply to doctors, not pregnant people, because they're trying to scare people out of being involved in all of these things. So yeah, Brett, we've got like 3 different tracks, all trying to chip away or cut chunks out of Roe v. Wade. But it might be kind of a moot point because it's possible they'll just completely destroy it right now.
And no one wants it. That's what's so frustrating. I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene with some rando outside the Supreme Court talking about how they had, quote, won the culture war. No, they haven't. Most Americans disagree with her. Most Americans disagree with her.
Well, we showed on the show yesterday, 27% want Roe v. Wade overturned.
That is so small and
very low.
And so I would also argue that that is not America. What they're doing is wildly anti-American. The hypocrisies aside, everything that they've done to get to this point is wildly anti-American. The warping of our machine of democracy by people who want minority rule. And it's so ironic that they're so against minority people by and large that they themselves do not understand that they're in, or if they do understand it, they're lying to America about how many people are behind them. It's insane. And so they have turned that a 27%, and I'm not gonna be able to do the math, but maybe it's like they have 27% support in the general American population, and they have 67% support in the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
that's not how it should work.
Yeah,
but it is.
Yeah, I mean, the system is set up from top to bottom to take the most radical opinions and then generate an unassailable majority. Both because of things like gerrymandering as well as the fundamental setup of the Senate that then translates into power over the Supreme Court. It also increases your odds of winning the presidency over and above how popular your positions actually are. But we should also remind people that in addition to all of that, we could fight back against this. Like we could get rid of the filibuster. We could make it so that you can actually legislate even after fighting past all these obstacles. And enough Democrats, a critical mass of Democrats, don't want to do that because they agree with what these Republicans want. By and large, the most important issues. Some of them might say that they're not against Roe v. Wade, but they're not going to do literally anything to stop it from being destroyed. In addition to all the other issues that we've been talking about throughout the year.
Yeah,
so all that's true.
In terms of Democrats doing anything to stop it, like Sorota's locked in this like debate with people who are saying like, oh, don't get mad at Manchin, you Bernie bro. And he pointed out in September that there is plenty of legislation that can counteract this and go around the Supreme Court. Or at least make it take longer for it to be overturned by this corrupt Supreme Court that's the result of like horrible, cynical, anti-American manipulation of the system. But the Democrats leave it in committee. It's a law that says, okay, if a state passes a law like this, it cannot go against the Roe v. Wade decision, essentially. It would be moot, and that would be a congressionally enacted law. They just won't do any of the things that are necessary in order for them to pass that law.
Well, and I think we get to be mad at Manchin for hamstringing the Democratic agenda, almost ensuring that the Republicans are going to take over the House and be in a much better position to win the presidency. And we're already facing a decades-long battle to retake control of the Supreme Court, and he's making that even more difficult to even conceive of working. So, yes. By the way, as a general point, we often have, especially when the Supreme Court starts to weigh in on something really important, we have these very predictable cyclical battles on social media about who's responsible for it. And one side will be like, I told you blank was responsible. The other side will say, no, it was actually this person. And it's my contention that almost always the only reasonable position is all of those people were responsible. Like, why do we choose like one person that helped give the Supreme Court to the Republicans? It wasn't one person, multiple people and multiple groups through action or inaction led to this result. Why can't we be mad at a lot of them? I don't know. I guess
I'm with you.
partisanship is a powerful drug. Also, by the way, you mentioned, that they lie about how popular their position is on getting rid of Roe v. Wade. I also saw a tweet that was showing a text from the NRCC, and it was saying that we need to win this Supreme Court battle, because if we win, then thousands of lives will be saved. If we lose, the Dems will make abortion legal everywhere.
It is.
It is. It is, and it has been for decades. But again, they create a reality. Anyway, I want to read
that
a
is
little
so
bit more
wrong
about
on
this.
so many levels.
Well, if you want to briefly jump in, feel free to describe those.
No, just do it. Just move on.
Okay, well then in that case, let's talk more about what's going on in Texas. And again, sometimes we tell you about things that are proposed laws that might get signed, they might go into effect. So this went into effect yesterday. Texas State Representative Donna Howard says it's been 3 months since Texas imposed a near total ban on abortion procedures, and now lawmakers are once again coming after choice by restricting medication abortion, ignoring FDA and medical evidence of its safety and effectiveness. This 1-2 punch will strip away the ability of Texans to make their own healthcare decisions, and that is its intent. This new law lists 27 different potential complications as a result of using this 2-drug regimen, the medical abortion, ranging from incomplete abortion to death of the patient to complications of future pregnancies, which might lead you to believe that they're doing this because they're worried about the complications. First of all, long-term studies have shown that medical abortion is both highly effective at terminating a pregnancy, and few patients experience significant side effects and can be made aware of those before electing to undergo medical abortion. They don't care at all about that. They're plugging holes, that's all it is. They made the in-person abortions far more restrictive and made it a coin flip whether you'd be even aware that you were pregnant while you still had time legally to get it. So many people responded by saying, well, you can still, at least for a few more weeks, get this medication shipped to you. So they're getting rid of that. They're inventing rationales. They just want to stop women from exercising these rights. That's it.
It's insane, dude. So what I was talking about how this would save thousands of lives. Like, you're gonna kill a lot of people by outlawing abortion because people are still gonna do it. The Supreme Court has previously decided, based on science, that is, Roe is motivated by science about like potential for viability of the fetus to proceed developing on its own, right? The abortion pill, which is different from Plan B, is like according to Planned Parenthood, a two pill process that stops the growth of the fetus and then induces a menstruation, which empties the uterus of the 7 weeks of cell formation, right? Like, okay, that is medically very reliable and safe up to the 11-week thing. It's like up to 90% effective and generally safe, FDA approved, all that stuff that they pretend that they care about, right? If you outlaw it, people are gonna go get abortions. And if they're illegal, those abortions aren't gonna be safe. They aren't gonna be as safe. So you're outlawing something that, based on the science you purport to advance, which is hilarious from this group, you're supporting behavior that is unsafe and it's going to kill people. So you're not actually pro-life.
Yeah, and none of it's again we have to talk about these things and we'll say a bunch of stuff that's true. We'll give you information from these organizations. You'll point out the obvious consequences. We all know all of this. They know all of this. They just don't care. It is useful to them to do it. Some of them are true believers. They're radical Christian zealots who just want to see their very specific misconceptions of Christianity be the law of the land. These are the exact same people that were terrified of Sharia law becoming institutionalized 10 years ago. They now want their version to be the law that you have to live by. This is one step along that path, and others see it as a convenient thing to get their base that they see as religious wahoos to be distracted and usher them into continued power. Because the Supreme Court that they delivered is a Supreme Court that will annihilate Roe v. Wade, but that isn't fundamentally why people like Mitch McConnell or others were interested in it. Donald Trump hasn't lived his whole life really aggrieved about abortion. He doesn't care about that. These are a Supreme Court that are going to allow deregulation of businesses, the continued cutting of taxes. They're going to shred any progressive legislation that might be passed through the rest of our life. That is what it's actually there for. And it's a weird position to be in where what we're seeing right now is very literally a distraction and incredibly important, but not for the people who are using it as a distraction. It is crucial. It is a right that is important, and it is just being used as a callous distraction so that people can save a few $100,000 in possible taxes or spending that might come in the next decade. That's really what it's about.
Right. The annoying thing is the people I disagree with the most in this conversation, I actually respect the most because they're actually being honest. Now, I would hope they would.
You mean like the crazy Christians?
The crazy Christians. Like I hope they find the error in their ways. I have much more disrespect and contempt for the people who use this cynically in order to forward their very materialistic. Like there is a scene in the Bible for this where this, Jesus goes into the temple and says, my house should be my temple should be a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of thieves. They are taking your religion and using it to make money. And Jesus got really pissed off about that. And he threw them all out. So you need to get rid of them.
We are not a good culture at doing that, as the Joel Osteen story is gonna show a little bit later on. Anyway, really fast, we're not focusing on SCOTUS because it seems sort of inevitable, and we've already told you the important comments that have been made by the justices so far. But I do want to check in just briefly to let you know what Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been saying about the debate that's ongoing, what she sees. And she tweeted, reminder that Brett Kavanaugh still remains credibly accused of sexual assault on multiple accounts with corroborated details. And this year, the FBI admitted it never fully investigated. Yet the court is letting him decide on whether to legalize forced birth in the US. No recusal. She also points out that out of 9 justices, 3 were appointed by a man who tried to overthrow the US government and was elected via minority. Those 3 will decide whether the US will legalize forcing people to give birth against their will. Legitimacy requires consent of the governed. They are dismantling it. And again, does me ever expressing, and if I ever express a desire for consistency or a lack of hypocrisy, I apologize for wasting your time and probably my own, but I'm gonna do it very briefly. If the radical, like women's bodies are not their own, if something happens to, we're gonna force you to give birth, God, who cares what you believe? If that group would honestly do 1 or 2 of these things, I would be a little bit more in the position I think where you're in, where like I sort of respect it. If they actually were like, we're gonna force you to give birth, and then to the extent that we can take the power of government and just make it so that babies are born healthy, they're provided for. We love babies, we just want babies to be safe. They would have such a better case. And I honestly think that would substantially increase the percentage of people that would shift to the anti-choice argument if they believe that there was anything other than religious zealotry to it. But there isn't. Or alternatively, if those same people that are like, women should be chained to a hospital bed and forced to birth children, also didn't then constantly talk about how the Democrats are running a tyranny and you need to call them communists because they're forcing you to put things in your body that you don't want. Pretending that they care about liberty and your rights and freedom and all of that. They don't care at all about that. They think that you're a uterus with a human attached to it. And so there's just no consistency. And I know it's a waste of time to even mention it, but I wish I could see a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just slightly classifying stupidity different in terms of responsibility for, my contempt. Like I don't like them. I think they're wrong. And for those obvious religious hypocrisies that are rampant, like I call out those religious hypocrisies all the time. They have them. They're terrible. Yeah. But I would say like the cynicism of and the nefariousness using those folks' stupidity and ignorance, depending on the specific issue there, and their knowledge of how terrible they're being, which, let's be honest, they know, a lot of them, as you know, they know how terrible they're being. There's 2 categories within those quote unquote, religious zealots outside the Capitol. There are the ones who are like, no, the same ones who are like, we need to save the babies under the pizza parlor. That's one category. The other ones who are like, I don't know, I'm just here because I just want chaos and disorder, and I love to hate. People of color or gay people, period, because I secretly am in love with them. Like all of that stuff. Those people are worse, but they're all bad. And I wish they would see the error of their ways because I'm praying for them. I pray that Jesus guides them to the light of truth that can save their soul from this hypocrisy and damage that they're doing, turning women into government-controlled farms to grow, babies.
I as you were doing that, and you delivered it pretty well. I'm shocked that you haven't had like a Twitch televangelist character. I think we think about it. You've already got that great graphic if you use Jesus. I think that would be pretty good. Anyway, okay. With that, we are going to take a little break. When we come back, we're gonna give you some updates on some important stories. And I'm gonna continue. I was trying right there to needle Brett into disagreeing with me. It happens quite often. I think it's gonna happen this next block, but we'll see after this.
Ruff, ruff.
Anyway, let's see what's going on out there in the audience, everyone. Edward Tran just became a tier 3 member on YouTube. Thank you, Edward Tran. I appreciate that. Can't wait to see you in the next Q&A, which I guess we're gonna have to talk about that. Maybe it's next week, maybe it's a week after. We'll have to see. Ashley has been a tier 1 member for 12 months. Says, hi, John. You, bestest show, Trashy Fridays. Thank you for being here for Trashy Fridays. Cartman Dragon just became a tier 2 member. Awesome. I saw, I'm not gonna say what, but there's a Republican like guy on Twitter or whatever that has like there's just a lot of them. They have like 700,000 subscribers. That's all they've ever done is been a Trump loving guy on Twitter. And he was responding to, I don't know, like AOC or Fauci or something. And he just did a big Cartman tweet. And there was no sign that he was doing like a quote from Cartman from early on in South Park. There was no sign that it was ironic or whatever. It seemed like he was just like quoting Cartman to make a point. It seemed very weird. He's like an adult. I want to be clear about that. Anyway, Kelly has been a tier 3 member for 12 months, says sending love and support to all the dragons. Thank you very much. We've gotten some bad news from the audience. What's up?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say Cartman's an adult at this point. Sorry.
He is, yeah.
You were in the middle of something.
No, it was one of like where Cartman is like singing like an insulting song at someone, but he just like did it as a full quote.
Stupid. All right, sorry. You were in the middle of something very real.
I was. Well, thank you to our audience. Raised by Wolves became a tier 1 member. Much appreciated. Thank you. Laura Estrada says, please do. I hope that that's not about the song. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe it was about the jacket. It is very hot in here, isn't it? Anyway, it's not that bright. Is this too bright? Is this too bright, America?
Take it off, dude. Take it off, bro.
Marissa says it's too bright. Great. Okay.
Take it off, dude.
Yoda says, upgraded to tier 2 today. I was going to anyway. Why today? The TDR YouTube page is better at uploading yesterday's TYT main show. TYT.com has it 90% of the time the next day. TDR 100%, I blame Brett. That's amazing. Our team is very good. Best in the business, I've always said. And more importantly, better than the other teams. Anyway, okay, Usagi says Omicron has reached Hawaii and we just lifted mandates on restaurants.
Can swim.
Yeah, exactly. And there might be some evidence that maybe it's not gonna be lower symptoms. We'll see. Jonathan Toten says, Dragon Daddy is just too hot for that jacket. Stay awesome and safe, Dragon Squad. Thank you. Apparently I am. I should at least turn up the AC. Farrah Queen says, TDR fan Watson the kitty made it through surgery and is doing well. Farrah Queen had mentioned that earlier. He's hanging out and watching you now. He's liking Brett's fire in the background. It's soothing for a kitty that's been through surgery. La Dragon Francois says, viewer from Texas here. Being sick has at least one benefit. I get to watch the Brett-tastic Friday live show. Keep doing what you do, y'all. I love TYT. Thank you so much. Prison Mike Dragon, that's funny. Says under his eye, Dragon Daddy and Drunkle Dragon. Exactly. Okay, Franklin Sharpslicer finally says, pumping too much iron causes a bit of stab. Unlike us, you can't make faces with your belly flab. As Boebert tries to win the Stewart E. Pub Award, at least margarine and Texas are coming on fast. Happy Trash Day. Thank you, I appreciate that. I don't know the reference to the award, but thank you. Finally, we had a hype train at level 5. Very nice of you, thank you. 19 sub gifts, including 5 from Blue Tech, the Belgian Dragon. Stars View gifted 5 as well. Thank you to everyone who participated in that. Stone Eagle Dragon hit 11 months of subscribership. Well, we have a lot more that we will get to during our next break, but there's a few important stories to get to, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The bird.
Somebody called out Brett nibbling the end of his cord there. Anyway, after our
They're
show,
metal too. It really hurts.
Are they? Well, then you should be careful. There is a lot. Is your video blurry?
I stepped back out. I was out of the focal length. Sorry. You do things. I'll focus so I can get further back.
We've got a lot more TDR for you, but in addition to that, there's so much going on today on the network. Indisputable will be up after our show with Rashad Ritchie and Dina Dahl. I will be leading the first hour of the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur and Charles Coleman Jr. JR and Ray Vanna will be joining Cenk for the second hour. And then I hear there's a Game Busters. What are you gonna be busting?
Hang on, give me a second to frickin' your button. Shit, John, there we go.
I'm sorry, next time I will let you borrow a better camera that's more
No, it's not your fault. Yeah, John gave me a camera. He let me borrow indefinitely a camera, and I'm afraid that he hasn't told me he wants it back, and he actually does want it back. But now I'm focused.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you're focused.
Okay, today on Game Busters, we're gonna be playing Fortnite, where you can do all kinds of things to make us drop materials and whatnot. It's gonna be amazing.
I hear season 2 is ending.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like change. I'm a progressive.
They should change back to the original map. That's the kind of change I like.
I like that. I think that's good. I think they should do that.
They should do that. Anyway, with that though, we have a lot to talk about. So let's jump into our next story. We've had a full week of back and forth over Lauren Boebert's and Islamophobic comments from this last weekend and from always. Just more and more videos and comments from her attacking Muslims as well as other groups. And finally, it has come to a group of 38 House progressives releasing a statement calling for her to be removed from her committee assignments, including the head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, heads of committees, those sorts of things. Now, what does she think? Well, she's not really addressing the controversy anymore. She went on Newsmax yesterday to say, I've moved on from this controversy, which is how controversies work. When you say something awful, you decide when everyone's done with it. That's how society works. She said, I've made a public statement. I made a personal phone call to Ilhan to make things right. She hung up on me. Those are mostly lies. She did make a public statement. She said she apologized to anyone in the Muslim community I offended with my comment about Representative Omar. And that statement, which is not an apology to Representative Omar, is the closest we'll get to one, because technically Representative Omar is in the Muslim community. So she got as much of an apology as all of the more than 1 billion Muslims in the world did. But she has never apologized to the actual woman that she has repeatedly lied about in these remarks for laughter and applause from right-wing a-holes. And the phone call was not made to make things right. She just lied more to her on the phone call. So now we have this push from progressive lawmakers. I want to read a few of the things that people on the list said. Cori Bush said she needs to be removed from her committees, absolutely. She expressed hope that there are enough of us, or we can mobilize enough of us to help leadership see that this is a must. She says House leaders should act immediately rather than waiting to see what the Republicans will do, because we already know what they're gonna do and not do. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said there are a number of options before us, including censure and stripping committee assignments. I do believe we need to take action, she says. Jamal Bowman said that Republicans should strip her, but if Republicans don't, yes, I think the majority should act. And Pramila Jayapal said that stripping her should be a bipartisan thing, but added if it's not going to be, then we might as well be the ones to do it. But Nancy Pelosi is sounding the alarm. And this is where maybe we'll have a disagreement, we'll see. She said that in this like closed door meeting, that there could be backfiring if they do punish her, saying this is hard because these people are doing it for the publicity. There's a judgment that has to be made about how we can contribute to their fundraising and their publicity on how obnoxious and dangerous they can be. But she said the rhetoric is dangerous and that the majority cannot allow Republicans to endanger members of Congress, especially because of her faith. So there's obviously a conflict there to what she's saying. She doesn't resolve it. So Brett, now it's on us. What should they actually do?
There's an if and a very clear if and only if here, Nance. You can move on. you can change the subject. You can ignore Lauren Boebert and their clear grab at fundraising if and only if you come up with literally anything else to talk about. What in the holy garbage, hot, stinking garbage has the establishment of the Democratic Party come up with to talk about? If you're like, oh, it's just a really effective messaging campaign that we're feeding into, come up with something like that and do it. But you haven't. Unless the only people you can raise funds from are people whose goals, and this is it, it's lazy. I get it. She's old, she wants to retire, she didn't want to come up with, she doesn't want new tricks and whatever. Unless the only people you're raising money from have goals that are diametrically opposed to that of the American people who'd be really happy to vote for you if you just gave them stuff they cared about and made clear already they wanted.
So I agree. I think that would be great. I don't think it's going to come from her. But what do you think about the two different approaches? So all these progressives are saying we clearly have to do something. She's repeatedly doing this. Nancy Pelosi, who I don't make a habit of agreeing with generally, is like, well, if you censure her, then she'll be a martyr and they'll fundraise off it. I don't think that Nancy Pelosi is wrong in her comments. But that said, just because you're in a difficult position doesn't mean you just, after all, she made those comments at fundraisers. So they were already fundraising pre-censure, pre-committee removal. So if you punish them, then yes, they will definitely fundraise off that. And Republicans will like it, but they clearly like them just making the comments, which they're making without having been punished already. So what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to do nothing because doing something might make them briefly happy? Should we just let them continue to generate these death threats against Muslim members of Congress because we're worried that they'll raise $50,000 off of it? Like, what are we actually supposed to do? What would leadership look like in this case?
I like the suggestion that Cenk has mentioned, that Anna has mentioned, that is just like, why don't we go fundraise off it? Why don't we being them? Like if you're Nancy Pelosi, you say, why don't we go to Colorado and just say, here's what they're missing. You need to change, and if I get it, so all right, what do I think is the best solution? I already gave it. I think she's wrong. I think people trying to get her off the committees are wrong. I think Nancy Pelosi is closer to right, but still miles away from it. Because answers like that, debates like the one and this is where we'll get into debate. Debates like the one you just posed are the wrong thing to do.
Is it a losing argument?
Your argument is no. Your framing in this case is a loser, and it's not. I know you're not.
Well, no. But this isn't framing. This isn't a forward-facing thing. I'm saying, what should our strategy be?
The strategy be I already laid out. Don't acknowledge it. Go out there and start messaging on stuff that's actually winners. Now, for you, my answer is they're both wrong. Option C. Focusing on this and bringing up like hateful, oh my God, this racist is racist, doesn't really provide anything, because the things that would, you've already, if you're being super cynical about it and super strategic, you've already got some, and ask them, they'll tell you. It's like people feel like they've been taken for granted in certain voting blocks when you go advocate for stuff like this. It would be better, you'd get their vote more if you added in your big tent approach, if you added policies that people actually could get behind. Things that were popular in this bill that you gutted, the Build Back Better bill.
Yeah.
All that stuff, that's the answer. The question, should they kick her off the committee? Should they not? They don't need to kick her off committees. And I agree that by not kicking her off committees or kicking off committees, not going to have that much of a effect on Boebert's bottom line. I think Ilhan Omar might be better served instead of saying she didn't apologize to me personally, saying I am so glad that Lauren Boebert has finally joined our side in this, realizing that any messaging like that from her and her party is wrong. And I can't wait for Lauren Boebert in the future, and I'll cite her even if she doesn't do it because she's laid out her side, to be with me when I call out this similar hate to this in the future.
Yeah.
And I'll say even Lauren Boebert agrees that, and fill in the blank.
Yeah, well, look, I think obviously with the call, Lauren Boebert showed that to the extent that her original apology even was an apology, and it's hardly an apology if you don't apologize to the person you said it about. I mean, do we think that she was done telling those versions of that story? Like, I don't think so. And the issue is, I don't disagree with you at all strategically from the zoomed out point of view of what is best for the party and the country and all that. But that said, like, there's also Ilhan Omar, Muslims. Like, so some sort of like affirmative defense, a vigorous defense might not be the most politically expedient thing, but these are still individuals in a group that are continually demonized and attacked, the victims of hate crimes. So like, that has to be a consideration that like they deserve protection even if it's not politically expedient. Right?
How is this different from all others? Sure, throw her off committees. I don't care. You need a better line than this. They need a better line than this. Period.
Well, those progressives,
she did a great job. I mean, Ilhan Omar did
talking about
more stuff where she gets out there and goes, "Here's a death threat I got," just to make this real.
I thought that was very effective.
I like that. That's great. That's the next step. I'm glad that, and I would hope Lauren Boebert would do a better job of connecting the dots about how her behavior leads to this. Anyone who denies that is weird and wrong.
Sure, I agree. I thought that she tried to. She said, like 3 hours after she put up her video, I got this death threat. I thought that was very effective.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't worry. We'll continue to disagree, but we're gonna have to do it about something different, perhaps. So we're gonna jump into this next story. It's one of the weirdest stories we've had to talk about for some time, and I am going to file it under the category of semi-speculative. We're gonna be talking about something that was apparently leaked on Telegram by Lynn Wood, who got it from someone else who might have gotten it from the laptop that might have been Hunter Biden's. So bear all of that in mind as we talk about this. I find it to be an interesting think piece because the thing that was leaked by Lynn Wood is this email that we're gonna show you right now. It is an email from 2014 from Tucker Carlson to Hunter Biden, which is weird. One might not have expected to see something like this, but in particular, the content of it is interesting as well. So let's jump into that. It starts off with Biden saying, "Hunter, I can't thank you enough for writing that letter to Georgetown on Buckley's behalf. So nice of you. I know it'll help. Hope you're great and we can all get dinner soon." Hunter Biden is said to have replied, "Hey buddy, I need Buckley's CV if you have one handy. Thanks. Of course, getting on a plane now, but I'll ask Susie to send it right away. Thanks again. It's really nice of you to do this." So that was between Tucker Carlson and the then son of the then Vice President Joe Biden, with Tucker Carlson asking the son of the vice president to help his kid get into college. I believe it was Georgetown. Who apparently he didn't end up going to Georgetown, by the way, as an interesting historical footnote. And that is just fascinating to me. Again, it's entirely possible that this isn't true, although as of right now, Tucker Carlson isn't denying this. And in fact, Tucker Carlson has talked in the past about knowing Hunter Biden years ago. So there's at least some basis to believe this could be true. Before I give more of my commentary, Brett, what do you think?
Dude, I struggle to find a whiter news peg than a headline with these words in it. Tucker asks Hunter to help Buckley get into Georgetown. Like,
you're not wrong.
Like, meanwhile in Brooks Brothers, like that's where we're at with this.
Meanwhile on the dock.
Yeah, meanwhile inside a boat shoe.
Exactly, broadcasting from a boat shoe. Okay, so there's a few, I think, fairly obvious things about this. One, so this is 2014, which is simultaneously a long time ago and also not that long ago. Like, it's pre-Trump in politics, right? Although, Trump was doing his birther stuff. So to put it in perspective, 2014 was 7 years ago. Tucker Carlson, I don't believe even had his own show at this point. He was just awful on the network in general. So it's 7 years ago. It's also 6 years into the Obama presidency. And this guy who had been on Fox being awful, and I'm gonna demonstrate how awful he was at that time in a minute, making a whole career off of attacking the Obama administration and terrorizing people to be scared of Obama and all that, was trying to get the son of the vice president to help his kid get into a college. Like, if the swamp and the establishment is anything, is it not a right-wing pundit getting the Democratic vice president's son to help his kid get into a school that apparently he isn't qualified for, and then going to dinner together, and then going on Fox News and demonizing the vice president? But they're fine because apparently all that political stuff really means nothing to them, and they're just using each other for benefits and then going and getting a tomahawk steak or something, and it's all good because all that political stuff is just fluff. That's how we make more money, but we don't really care about any of that.
Like, at this point, Hunter Biden was like already the one in trouble for stuff. Like Hunter's history, his storied past, like I wouldn't doubt that they both were hanging out in the same cloud of coke smoke, like Tucker and Hunter. They both reek of that high society BS, and it's true. Like, what is most astounding to me is that these so-called populists of the right wing have gravitated toward two sides of a coin that couldn't hate each other more, right? Their two choices are Donald Trump or Tucker Carlson. You know, new money Gatsby, old money Gatsby. Like, they're both just this weird, disgusting, like Gilded Age symbolism of how you're so screwed. Because there you got Tucker Carlson, who's like this establishment figure, lots of generations of family money, got the haircut, got the bow tie to match. And then Donald Trump, who is like the sludgy version of the rich guy. But neither of those two categories of rich schmucko gives a rat's ass about you.
100%. And this is the sort of story that I think, in theory, should break through, and it will not at all. Revealing like the fundamental lie, like revealing the grift doesn't break through, because the reason the grift works is that they have co-opted these people's minds and they have convinced them that they're the only arbiter of what is true. Andrew Lawrence had a great tweet though. If Chris Hayes had asked Don Jr. for a letter of recommendation to get his kid into some elitist preschool, it would be the lead story on Fox News every hour until Monday, which is indisputable. But the Tucker Carlson thing doesn't matter. But that Fox will continue to demonize Hunter Biden, but they were getting benefits from him. And I want to be clear, he's having this like jolly good conversation with Hunter Biden. Maybe we'll go to dinner. I was curious. It was 7 years ago. Maybe Tucker Carlson was a totally different person. I don't know. So I went back to November of 2014, and I found what Tucker Carlson was getting up to. And so I'm going to play you a bit of video. This is Tucker Carlson on Alex Jones's show in November. So this is 1 week before the email you saw. So he did this video, and then he emails the son of Joe Biden to help him out. So here is what he was up to.
What Ben Stein on Fox News saying he's the most racist president ever. I don't know if I agree with that, but he certainly has race baited and used race more than any president in recent history.
Exactly.
What do you think about Obama?
I have no idea what's in his heart. I have no idea what his true beliefs are, but it's very clear. They've made it as clear as it's ever been in the last 2 weeks that they're willing to use race to divide the country and get out the vote, and use racial fears to get their base out to the polls. And I think it's effective. It works. Fear works. It works for me, by the way. I'm motivated. When I'm afraid, it motivates me. I think human beings are all that way. But in the case of racial division, there's a consequence that lasts far beyond Election Day. If you stoke people up along racial lines, you get ethnic politics. And look around the world. You've traveled. You know practically every other country on the planet is divided by ethnic politics. We haven't been historically, but we're moving in that direction, and it's really scary because ethnic politics doesn't go away. If you and I disagree on an issue, the issue can be resolved, and we can become friends again. If we're divided by race, race is immutable. It doesn't change. We're always divided, and those divisions can be bitter. They can turn violent. I mean, you don't even want to play with that stuff, and they're doing it in a big way, and it's reckless.
Now, I know what you're going to say, but wait, he's been doing that ever since with the Great Replacement and all that. So it's weird for him to say that and then go on to say that they're importing voters. But I want to be very clear. You can go watch the extended video. He's doing the Great Replacement in this video, saying that they're bringing in voters for permanent political power and they're trying to scare people along racial lines, which he would never do. So he says the Biden administration, the Obama administration with Joe Biden as vice president, is trying to balkanize America into permanent racist politics. Okay, that was a good show. Hey, Hunter Biden, could you get my kid into a nice school? It's just, it's all BS. It's all BS.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Tucker was just doing critical race, like his version of critical race theory. Him saying that like race, the folks who he knows he can't deny that racism is a problem in America. So he gets mad at people for bringing it up. That's like saying, how dare you bring up this fire in this house? Are you trying to divide us? You're trying to get us to leave this beautiful house. It's always been a beautiful house. It's like, it's on fire, let's fix it. And he gets mad at you for pointing that out.
100%. And by the way, just to tie in with the fact that he was being all gushy about Alex Jones this week, he was just going on Alex Jones's show in 2014. All the crazy conspiracy theory stuff about the gay frogs and the weather beams and all that. So Alex Jones was already doing that. He'd been doing that for years and years and years. Tucker Carlson just went on his show.
This is his like training.
Anyway, okay. My head is gonna explode, but more importantly, Marissa's head is gonna explode. So I'm gonna end this block. We're gonna go to our break. When we come back, Facebook making money off of some insane ads. We're gonna evaluate them after this. Wow. Okay, Brett, you're gonna vamp for 15 seconds, okay? I'm gonna throw this to you, and then you're gonna vamp. Maybe you can say a little bit more about Game Busters, okay? I'll be right back.
Game Busters is awesome. John's taking off his jacket. I have no doubt in my mind that that's what's happening. I don't think 15 seconds is enough time for him to go get coffee. Anyways, join us for Game Busters, twitch.tv/TUIT. Tonight after bonus episode, did I just shame you into not taking off the jacket?
I was turning up the AC. It's very hot in here. But anyway, thank you for promoting Game Busters there. So I turned it down to 65. We'll see what happens. Okay, with that, what else is going on? Sean Greenberg has been a tier 1 member for 12 months. Says, may the Schwartz be with you. Thank you, and also with you. Cameron George became a tier 1 member. Thank you to all of you supporting us over on YouTube. For tier 2 and tier 3 members, we do a weekly top 10 list. Coming up this next week, we're gonna give you the 10 doctors we'd prefer to have in the Senate over Dr. Oz. That should be a fun one. Robert Ryder with a very generous super chat. Thank you, Robert Ryder. I appreciate that. Very nice of you. Fred says, I'm vaxxed, not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm hesitant about getting my kids vaxxed. What do you think about this? Well, I would say that in the same way that I'm sure that you actually looked into the prevalence of symptoms and side effects and all that for yourself, that data is available. We often, like the idea of doing your own research now makes me almost chuckle because it's been so maligned by people who are not actually doing that, but you can actually do that. It's available, that information. Laura Estrada says, Brett, give Wheel of Time a chance. I am a recent convert, it's worth it. Well, in his defense, he's watching it.
It's bad, dude. There's like this whole like, what if we make a folk song in this time? Let's do crazy. The acting's terrible. It's lit.
I don't think the acting is terrible.
Rosamund Pike's the only person who can act in that entire show. Period.
No, several other people can too.
How do you have a budget 8 million times bigger than Battlestar Galactica, but that show looks better?
I mean, don't do that. Don't try to make me. I like Battlestar Galactica too, damn it.
The 100. It looks like the 100. It looks like one of those shows that they have on like network on the CW. Like it looks like a CW sci-fi show. Everything's so lit. Okay. Like they have this kind of lighting.
Change my garbage people elements, guys.
That is not true.
The shots are beautiful. It's got great Lord of the Rings style. It's not designed to look like Game of Thrones.
They can't
it's more like Lord of the Rings.
They have beautiful vistas. They still make it look like Calabasas.
It's Spain,
the color correction's horrible. They're not doing anyone any favors. All the costumes look so costumey. The sets look like they just brought a bunch of wagons out to Calabasas. Fix it, dude.
You've already said that. I think the sets look good. I think that they have to create like 3 different cities in the first couple of episodes, and I think they look pretty good. I thought that village looked good. I thought it looked good. Anyway, with that, shut up.
It looks like a musical from the 1950s where they did like, the hills are alive on this beautiful sound stage.
With these beast men.
I like the beast men. When the Trollocs first showed up, I was like, I want the story about those guys because they look like they could be fun.
Okay, let's just follow them. Like Joe the Beast Man. Let's see how he prepares food. Anyway, you don't want to see that, by the way. Ellinger88 hit 18 months on Twitch. Thank you for that, Ellinger. You're a good person. Brett is not. Tatiana Severina hit 4 months, says 1 quarter subscribing via Twitch with BBs after months of I don't get it watching on YouTube. Thank you for being here for those 4 months. Elfie Dragon hit 2 months too, says member for literally years. Well, thank you. And is on book 5 of Wheel of Time, which is my second favorite, I think. Anyway, with that, we do have more to get to, so let's jump back to the news.
I'm actually a large lizard.
I want to watch an episode with you.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Want to go to okay. Sure. Either one's fine by me. You want to do the E block? Are we prepared for the D block? Let's just go with the D block. It's fine. We only have 5 minutes anyway. Let's do it. Okay, let's do that. We're doing Facebook.
D block. There he is.
Okay.
I like
Facebook has assured us over the past few years that they have increasingly taken seriously misinformation, hate speech, calls to violence, and all of that. And they've made some improvements, but boy, do they still apparently have a long way to go. They have apparently made, in just the last few years, $780,000 from just clothing ads, continuing to spread the same sort of stuff from pages like Ride the Red Wave and Next Level Goods. So like they had previously said that they banned misinformation about vaccines. Okay, well, you can still get ads and they make money off of ads for shirts like Slowly and Quietly, but it's a Holocaust. That's a vaccine needle and it's a Holocaust apparently. Another shirt, by the way, you can also get that same thing as a mug or a doormat. Imagine a person who would have that as their doormat. Proudly Unpoisoned. They're making money off of those ads. That one was mainly shown to men, shockingly, mainly in Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, and California. So you might see that around you in California. The page Ride the Red Wave ran ads for a sweater that said, I'm originally from America, but I currently reside in 1941 Germany. And you can see it right here. You can get it as a t-shirt too. Don't you just want to hang out and have a beer with the person who would put that on a sweater? You can also get a Make Hanging Traitors Great Again shirt. They had those ads. Seems a bit violent. And by the way, like they end up, these little pages, they pay for exposure and they get it. They get over 1 million ad impressions per ad, despite the fact that their sites only have 10,000 followers and 7,000 followers. So they are very much getting their money's worth. And apparently so is Facebook because they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars off ads for those abysmal shirts. What do you think, Brett?
Give the money back, Mark. Put it towards vaccine. Just do it. Done now. Do it. I'm tired of hearing these stories where like right wingers put pressure on you and you cave. And when people pressure you to do the right thing, you don't. Yep. It's the truth. He knows it. He knows it. That if you mount a pressure campaign on Mark Zuckerberg, he'll cave because he still wants to be liked.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, I think a combination of wants to be liked and like, disagree with me if you want. The sum total of his decisions over the past 10 years seem to me to be very inconsistent with him being either ambivalent about all this political stuff or in any way left-leaning. Like he has to be to some extent sympathetic towards these points, or he just doesn't know or care anything about politics, so he just assumes the right is right.
Yeah, Slowly and Quietly, but it's a Holocaust, and Proudly Unpoisoned should be banned. Honestly, I don't think I'm originally from America, but I currently reside in 1941 Germany should be banned because it's not explicitly like misinformation. It is a political disagreement.
Banned. I just think they shouldn't be making money off of promoting it. Like if people want to wear these shirts or put these shirts on Facebook, I don't think I've seen worse shirts than all of these, I think. They're abysmal, but But the fact that Facebook's making money off of it.
Here's the question that I need them to answer for me is like, they're probably would come back at you with like, it's a very big Facebook. There's a lot of things out there that we can't really figure out how to fix it. But you figure out so many other things, and you figured out who to get those ads to. No, it's an automated buying situation, which you probably should revisit because of how it reflects on you. And they can't deny what they've done to America. Like social media companies, at this point, they're past denying it. They need to accept the fact that they have responsibility for this because of how big they are. Period.
Just really fast, let me run you through the evolution of this. So back in June 2020, Facebook removed Trump ads with a symbol used by the Nazis. The campaign called it an emoji. It was clearly a callback to that. So that was progress. Back in 2017, ProPublica asked, when ProPublica asked Facebook about it, they finally stopped directing pitches on the news feeds of almost 2,300 people to topics like Jew hater, how to burn Jews, or history of why Jews ruin the world. Now, to be fair, Facebook said those categories were created by an algorithm rather than by people. And I guess that's better. That there were enough people who are just talking about that stuff that the algorithm's like, oh, that's a community.
Better, but not good. Like these are things they need to fix, and they need to come back to me and show me their work.
Exactly. And they're still selling the shirts with the Holocaust stuff. Anyway, thank you everybody in our linear platforms for watching us. We will have to bid you adieu, but if you're on our members app or on YouTube or on Twitch, we got a lot more news, including what's hiding in Joel Osteen's walls, news from around the world, and meanwhile as well as our garbage people of the week. That is coming up after this brief break. Welcome back to the Friday show, everyone. Before we jump back on the news, let's see what's going on in the audience. CD Weatherly had said, hi, John. As a Michigan parent, I've been in a haze the last couple of days, and I've decided it's time to get involved. I was wondering, does TYT have any resources for how to start a campaign run or to organize locally? Thanks for everything you guys do. Brett, feel free to fill in, but I think we try to spotlight people who run programs like that, the Movement School. We bring on people from the Justice Democrats, people from Working Families Party, all that. We don't directly do that sort of training or anything like that.
Well, the Justice Democrats is one way to they tell you, they have ways to get involved on their website. Also, Wolfpack is a great way to engage in activism to get money out of politics, which is really the root of all of this. And then there's the TYT Army, which allows you to kind of do your part to call out crappy journalism. And then also just go to tyt.com and there's a community page that we just started, the community functions that we just got started to find other people that can help you out with that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Let's see. George says Tulsi Gabbard for garbage person said there's no racism in the USA.
That was way back on Monday, though.
On the side of my head. Yeah, Republicans didn't think they did anything wrong, but I don't understand. I do understand though. Chub Toad says, love Wheel of Time and show 2, but editing work is bad. There was one transition that I didn't love. Anyway, Ingy Bingy says, thanks, Brett. I couldn't finish the first episode. Is Vitingale in the chat? Could they ban Ingy Bingy?
No, no.
Vitingale, could you ban that person and whatever other accounts or family members they might have? Okay, anyway, with that though, let's jump into the news. Joel Osteen is one of, if not the most successful televangelist in the country. A very wealthy person. How wealthy? Well, a plumber was working in the megachurch in Houston and reportedly, when breaking into a bathroom wall, discovered bags and bags of cash and checks. This discovery came several years after about $600,000 was apparently stolen from a safe at Osteen's Lakewood Church, which is only possible if you have a safe with $600,000 in it. So anyway, the plumber, whose name is Justin, said that he started working on the toilet and had to remove the tile and insulation. Once he removed the insulation, he discovered about 3,000 envelopes full of checks. Some had cash in it. Justin said he called the church's maintenance supervisor and had to stay at the church for almost 7 hours. And I will have to say, I don't believe this story, or specifically, I don't believe that he found 3,000 envelopes full of checks. I believe he probably found 3,050 envelopes full of checks. And now he's saying that he found 3,000. We have no reason to believe that he stole anything. But that's a lot of money.
I hope this plumber found $4,000 worth of checks and reported $3,000 worth of checks.
You should get at least 1,000 envelopes full of cash and checks.
I bet he opened and was like, checks, damn it. You can't, unless it's made out to cash, you can't really do anything with them.
I feel like it's finders keepers if it's in a bathroom wall, right? No, it should be.
I can picture Joel Osteen saying, you could write a check, but the Lord's chosen currency is bearer bond.
Oh God, gold Cougarins. Anyway,
he's the worst.
He needs it. If you can have $600,000 in the wall of your place and not know or care, I feel like he's fine. I don't think it matters to him.
Dude, this sounds like I'm making it up, but they say it's from one weekend of fundraising.
I thought it was from one day of fundraising.
Or one, yeah, I thought it was one weekend.
By the way, so Marissa loved your interpretation of him. Also, I love this that she put together. There's always money in the walls of the mega church, which is always true. You got to remember, there's always money in the walls of the mega church. So that's pretty good. So anyway, yeah, there's some back and forth about the guy. He had to wait, and it was difficult for him to even get them to take it seriously or whatever. But $200,000 in cash, $400,000 worth of checks. The issue here is not fundamentally, I don't think, about the bags of cash that are in the wall. It is about this entire system. He is worth $50 million. He got $4.4 million in PPP funds because it needs to replace the money that he would normally get donated to him. Well, hold on. If you regularly get millions of dollars just handed to you, I would make the case you need the money way less than everyone else, because most people don't hand them millions of dollars on a daily basis. This whole thing is so sickening. And how can the religious not have an issue with this? You cannot have $50 million and be a holy moral person, because any holy moral person with $50 million could be a holy moral person with $1 million who just did $49 million worth of good in the world, but is apparently choosing on a daily basis not to. And I understand that that applies to pretty much everyone, but it definitely applies to pastors.
The worst thing is the $4.4 million check is so little to that operating budget. Like you can then do the math and extrapolate. That's like a month's worth of, or no, that's like 5 days worth.
They are repaying that. That's
well, obviously good. I hope so. But like, this is someone. So it's either the fact that Joel Osteen was a little short on cash or had to pay someone to be quiet. This is just wanton speculation, and was like, well, I can't have this on the books. So break into the safe, or someone broke into the safe, found $400,000 worth of checks and $200,000 worth of cash back then, took the $200,000 worth of cash and was like, well, I can't, this is already wadded. I'll take that in and leave. I'll just dump the rest in the walls.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, they're making it seem like the cover story is someone stole it and did like demo and carpentry work to cover it up. How does that work?
I don't know, maybe you just shove it in the walls.
That's got to be a big building. How many people are like just standing in like a broom closet and just thinking like, I should just cave in that wall and see what's there? Because you think that's the only money. Anyway, okay, with that.
Yeah, and they need to pay this guy. I heard reporting that the plumber hasn't gotten a reward yet.
He should get at least $100,000.
Just give him the money, dude.
Give him all of the money, honestly. Cash the checks for him. Okay, with that, are we ready to go for this? Oh no, not for this, for the other. Are we ready to go for Meanwhile In? We are? Okay. It's time for news from around the world in Meanwhile In. Meanwhile in Austria, horrible news that just keeps on getting more and more horrible. A surgeon amputated the wrong leg on a patient, and that's not the worst part of this story. Was fined $3,000 for it, which seems low. Anyway, it was due to a disastrous combination of circumstances, because of course it was. What else could it possibly be? The surgeon had marked up the right leg instead of the left before surgery, a mistake that was only discovered when the patient's dressings were changed. And of course, the issue with that is you still then have to amputate the other leg. But even that isn't the worst bit of news. The patient later died from unrelated causes. This is just terrible.
Yeah, unrelated causes. Like, I don't even.
Needless amputation.
It's just, you couldn't. Anyways, this doctor doesn't have a leg to stand on. The issue with it is they keep referring to a dangerous combination of circumstances, and then they marked the wrong leg. I feel like there's your combination. Your combination is one number to get into this safe.
Yeah,
you just marked the wrong. And then we cut it off. No, that's just because of the one thing you did wrong.
That's because of the one. It would be like if the final death in a Final Destination was that someone shoots another person.
Yeah, like that's I was waiting for the Rube Goldberg of death.
Where's the thing that swings, and it's just terrible though. And the thing is, this does happen. You gotta find them more. I know Europe is like really loosey-goosey on a lot of different stuff, but that is a serious issue. You gotta be like, measure twice, cut once for carpentry. Surgeons should do that at least 10 times, I feel like. That's not asking too much. But meanwhile in.
Yeah. Sorry, go.
Meanwhile, in thankfully lighter news, in northern Denmark, an IKEA showroom turned into a big old bedroom because 6 customers and about 24 employees ended up being stranded in the store by a snowstorm and spent the night in IKEA sleeping in the beds. The Washington Post has a shot from it, and it looks exactly like you'd imagine. That dude is very comfortable on that IKEA bed. There's apparently a foot of snow. Neighboring toy store employees also came to the IKEA because of course, I mean, I guess you could sleep on massive teddy bears or something, but it's full of furniture. So that seemed reasonable. They apparently spent the night watching television and eating because of course they also have delicious food, cinnamon buns and leftover hot dogs and stuff like that. Brett, I wish this would happen to me, honestly.
We have a moment for you saying delicious food like leftover hot dogs. It's like, I feel like they could cook up some freshies, bud. Sometimes I break into IKEA at night.
I like their food and go through their trash. I love their food. Oh my God, I love it so much. Their cookies and everything.
Yeah, the only thing they need to put it at the beginning. They used to have it in the middle. Like the IKEA I go to doesn't have like that halfway there living on a prayer, like
a cafe. Yeah.
Get recharged for the lower area where you have to pick up the Fjordenhofen and put it on your Flugendonk.
Well, you've been going to, let's see, the Carson IKEA.
I don't want to disclose whether it's Carson or West Covina, but
yeah,
it is by no means the Burbank one, which is Shangri freaking La.
It's huge. Although the Carson one's pretty good too. Anyway, regardless, I can't imagine a better place. Like if the zombies come, how much competition is there gonna be over getting into that IKEA? Honestly. But anyway, hopefully people weren't too put out. Seems like a fun little sleepover. Oh, I will say, I wouldn't want to talk to anyone though. I would find one of the little like faux bedrooms. I would bring a whole bunch of Swedish meatballs in there, and then that'd be pretty much it. That seems weird. Anyway, meanwhile, in Argentina, the person who arguably should have been my garbage person this week killed almost 300 penguin chicks and destroyed more than 140 entire penguin nests with a bulldozer. A resident has been charged under animal cruelty laws for allegedly doing all of this at the Punta Tombo Nature Reserve, home to the world's largest colony of Magellanic penguins. No words on if it's still the largest colony. I hope so. It might have been caused by a possible land dispute, but it ended in all of this damage. The Ministry of Tourism has filed criminal charges after finding a wide path had been carved through the zone, both by the crushing and subsequent compaction of the ground, as well as the deposit of material extracted with the shovel. This person not only ran over these nests, but took a bunch of dirt and then crushed the nests underneath it. Just devastating. You'll see some photos. They also installed an electric fence without permission, which might have killed birds trying to escape. And you can see just absolutely devastating. I cannot imagine being that inhuman.
On the upside, it was solar powered.
It was solar powered, Brett.
Which is really mean to do to penguins, which are typically an Antarctic phenomenon. But then again, it's really hot there. I don't know how to respond to very obviously disgustingly terrible stories. And apparently that's how I do it.
It's by joking. I understand that.
I discovered as much about myself as you did during this, but maybe you knew and I just didn't have the self-awareness.
Jesus. Anyway, absolutely devastating. I'm aggrieved by it, not as aggrieved as Marissa is by me taking so long to get through this story.
But it was a bird story.
That, we're gonna move on. Well, I heard that birds aren't real. Okay, so with that, are we prepared then to move on to Brett's garbage person? We're good? Okay. It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. Brett, understanding that you cannot have the penguin guy be your garbage person, who is your garbage person of the week?
My garbage person of the week is a guy who was thrown out of the Disney park area where you can do shopping because he said a homophobic slur and he thinks he's the hero, but you can see that he only further vilifies himself. Take a look at the video he shot.
I'm being escorted out of Disney parks right now by Orange County Police. And the biggest in the patrol. Oh, he's back there. You can see him. He's got the checkered shirt on.
You need to order a cab or an Uber.
And they're ordering me to order a cab to leave Disney property for using the word. Isn't that great? Even though Mickey Mouse rapes mother. every day of the week.
I forget who said this when I pitched this in the morning meeting for the Young Turks, but they were like, so you think that Mickey Mouse sexually assaults people every day? So you went there?
Was he going to confront Mickey?
No,
I thought at first he was talking about the cartoon. He means that presumably, I think generally those are played by relatively short women in the Mickey Mouse suit, is committing sexual assaults as Mickey.
Maybe he'll explain more as he's already used the homophobic slur against the person that's not around him. Here he is, broadening his lack of appeal.
They're a little watered down here in Florida at Disney. They're not used to the streets of Detroit. I'm being escorted away by Javier behind me. There he is. There's Javier. And this is
Call taxi now.
Annabelle. And that's Porn Stash cop. The coolest guy here was the Indian guy that tried to get me to settle down. That's him right there. They know the law.
You need to call a taxi now.
Do you need a phone number? I'll call a taxi.
Call a taxi.
I'll call a taxi when I want to call a taxi, mother.
You're gonna want to call a taxi now. In terms of drunk people who have referenced taxis, this guy is also a garbage person for the reasons that are very obvious, but also that he tried to take the honor of the best drunken taxi diatribe in internet video history away from my longtime favorite since 2006. I want to say Rip Torn. If you haven't seen the video, here it is.
You've been arrested for operating a motor vehicle while under the influence of
I was hit by a taxi.
I need you to listen to me, okay?
What?
I need you to listen to me right now.
Was I hit by a taxi?
I don't know, sir. I wasn't out at the
No, I was hit by a taxi. I have witnesses to what I drank 1.5 drinks. Okay? I act like a gentleman after you ask. Pump me for nothing. Ouch.
Relax.
And ouch. I'm going to send you all to jail.
I have not seen that before. I'm gonna what you all to death?
I'm gonna send you all to jail. He said to the police after he was arrested.
He's hardly in a position.
Like, don't drink and drive. Don't do that.
By the way, your wife says it was only a matter of time before Brett got this video on the show.
Was I hit by a taxi? No, I was hit by a taxi. So there's that. I do want to say, like, so far he's gone after Indian people, Latinos, and women and LGBTQ community, but there's still one checkbox left on the bingo card. Let's see if he finally hits it in this last clip.
All right, so I've officially been banned from Disney properties for life. Boo-hoo. Bunch of money grubbing Jews over at Disney anyway. But now on a brighter side, I'm back at the hotel. I'm drinking beer. Little Bud Light go down the tap. Done the shoot very well. Disney.
Who would want to go there anyway? You just were there. You got kicked out of it.
And yes, before, like, and also, what, like, wasn't Disney attacked for being anti-Semitic? Now this guy's like, but that guy's the worst. You know who I feel bad for, and who isn't getting defended here is whoever was driving that taxi, because they had an earful all the way with that. As soon as they were like, call taxi, I was thinking, no, make him walk. No one should have to drive this guy around. Anyway,
so good
garbage person.
Thank you very much. And everyone in the chat talking trash about Bud Light, how dare you?
I think Bud Light is great. Everyone should shut up. Okay, with that, let's get to my garbage person. My garbage person of the week is gonna be a bit of a throwback. It's a small one, but it's Kayleigh McEnany. Because she's a massive liar, except in her words, she can't be that, as she describes in a recent book, saying, of course, I would never lie. How do you get through Oxford, Harvard, and Georgetown without sourcing, without truthful, well-sourced, well-researched information? More importantly, as a woman of faith, a Christian, and a new mother, telling the truth was in my nature and central to my family life and faith walk. And I hate every single word of all of that BS. First of all, she's a massive liar, and she knows that she's a massive liar. She gets jobs specifically because, from the right wing's point of view, she's good at delivering untrue information. Being Christian has nothing to do with whether you tell the truth. Being a woman of faith generally, being a new mother, moms can't lie. What sort of claim is that? And specifically, I want to tie this into a story from this week about her lies. Here she is being asked about Trump testing positive, when he tested positive for COVID, way back when he got COVID.
He tested on Tuesday before he went to the debate, and then when he tested on Thursday morning before he went to the New Jersey conference.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a detailed readout with timestamps of every time the president's tested. He's tested regularly, and the first positive test he received was after his return from Bedminster. Again, not giving a detailed readout of his testing, but safe to say his first positive test was upon return, or at least after Bedminster, that trip.
And she smiles. Well, according to Mark Meadows and three other sources, we know that that is not true. She was lying about when he had COVID to cover up the fact that he did a debate having tested positive. He met Gold Star family. Like, she's hiding behind being a mom and a Christian. She doesn't care that he potentially exposed moms who lost their kids, their soldier kids, and exposed them to COVID. So just massive, needless lie in addition to the thousands of other lies that she did in her position as that spokesperson. Really fast, Brett, what do you think?
Just all in. She's just all in on like, well, I have no integrity whatsoever. What am I gonna do, apologize? No, I'm gonna go all in. And like she, by her logic, no Christian has ever lied, no mother has ever lied, no elite Ivy League schmuckwad that ended up in the deep state has ever lied.
Like, she apply that to Democrats who've been to Oxford or Harvard or whatever?
Period, done. Like Bill Clinton did all of those things.
Yeah, he's a new mom too. But no, he went to those schools. No, she doesn't believe it. Like, and don't tie your kids into it. They're gonna grow up someday and know what a big liar you were. So it's really weird to hide behind them as a defense. In any event, that is my garbage person. So what did you all think? Well, 32,000 of you, it is almost always 32,000, voted this week. And here are your top 5 community garbage people. Coming in at number 5 with 4% of the vote is Mark Meadows for claiming and then folding on his Trump COVID claim. Number 4 with 8% of the vote is Dr. Oz for running for Congress in a state he doesn't live in and for all the other stuff about him. Number 3 with 10% of the vote is Professor Yenner for telling women to get out of the workforce. That guy sucks. Number 2 with 22% of the vote is Lara Logan for comparing Dr. Fauci to Joseph Mengele. Interesting that got number 2, but far and away your community garbage person of the week at number 1, 56% of the vote is Lauren Boebert for her Islamophobic and homophobic attacks. I felt sure that that would be it. Thank you to everybody who voted in the poll. She is utter garbage. And Brett, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm just happy to be around and just have a moment to just rub elbows with the stars like Johnny Iadarola.
Thank you for that, for your commentary, for your songs, and for Game Busters later on. But with that, we do have to run. Indisputable is coming up in just a few minutes. Later on today, I will be leading the first hour of the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur and Charles Coleman. So that's really exciting. You're not going to want to miss it. But until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.